volumes upstairs to the right music. You know, the other day I was perusing the forums, as I tend to do. I like to do a lot of research because I'm actually in the market for a Les Paul Custom. We'll get more into that later. But while I was looking through it, I was looking at the Epiphone Les Paul Custom. As you know, I really love this Epiphone Les Paul 59 model. I think it's a fantastic guitar and a fantastic bargain, so I started looking into the Epiphone Les Paul Custom model, particularly in black, because I had a friend when I was younger named Steve Demont who had a Les Paul Custom Black. It was a 70s, but anyway, since then it's been kind of an aspiration of mine to have one of those. But in any case, in the forums, I saw a lot of discussions about, well, Epiphones are this and Epiphones are that. You know, one of the reasons why I shied away from Epiphones, but as I started to research into them a little bit more, and because I have such an affinity with this one, I said, hey, let's find out some more about these wonderful guitars. You know, they've been really maligned a lot in the past. I think they've started to make a turnaround in that regard, so that's good. Certainly converted me over from the Gibson camp at this time, for the time being. So a lot of the myths that you find about Epiphones are fascinating. So I thought I would talk about some of the myths that are out there about Epiphone guitars that are just absolutely not true. Now, myth number one is that the top of these guitars have a sticker on them. Now, I don't know why. I think there are some models of Fender that have that. You know, on cars, when you want to put a decal or you want to put a flame on it, you put that sticker material on it. It just, a wrap is what they call it. So for some reason out there, and I don't know why, people are thinking that the tops of these Epiphones are a wrap. Well, they're not. In the case of this model, this is a solid mahogany two-piece body with a solid maple top, two-piece top, with a very thin maple, flamed maple veneer, because the maple underneath is just a very plain maple. So they take a very, very thin, maybe 2 millimeters of a good grade of maple, and they shave that off and they put that as tops on these. It really comes down to taste, whether or not that you like that veneer that's put on top. So it really is a function of cost savings as well. If you want a solid piece of maple to put on top of your guitar, it's obviously going to cost more, and if it has a good flame to it, then that's really going to cost a lot more. So those are some of the reasons why there's a price point difference between Epiphones and Gibsons. Is it a matter of function that's changed there? No, I don't think so. Sonically, this top on this particular Epiphone resonated a lot better than the top of the guitar itself on my Gibson Les Paul standard. So, you know, there is a discount there by how it's constructed, how it's manufactured, but it really, that does reduce the price of it, but you're not really losing a lot in that. Okay, on to number 2 myths about Epiphones. One of the myths out there is, it goes kind of like this. Oh man, I really like your Epiphone, maybe one day you'll get yourself a real Les Paul. Well, in 1957, Gibson purchased the Epiphone company. It was one of their main rivals in the archback construction guitars at that time, and Gibson just bought them out. That means that this Epiphone Les Paul is a product of Gibson, and it's the reason why you can say Les Paul model on it, because it is a Les Paul. Again, there are price points among Les Pauls where down at this level, you're dealing with, in my opinion, a better guitar than a Les Paul Tribute, but it doesn't have the construction values of a Les Paul Standard, and it certainly doesn't have the appointments of a Les Paul Standard Custom Shop. So again, it's about price points within a Les Paul, not whether or not an Epiphone is a real Les Paul or not. It gets to, again, a function of how great of a guitar it is. The build on this one, since, you know, I can tell you it's fantastic. Are they all like that? I don't know because I've only played this one, but I love this build and the tone and the overall vibe of this guitar over my Les Paul Standard. Now, what I'm paying for if I were to buy a Les Paul Standard or a Les Paul Standard Custom Shop, again, are those price point differences. A full maple top, one piece on that Custom Shop, a two-piece maple top, a solid maple top on that Les Paul Standard, and in this case, a two-piece maple top with a veneer, a maple cap put on it. So again, that's why there are those price points, but it does not make this any less of a Les Paul. It is a Les Paul. It's got Gibson humbuckers in it. For all essential purposes, it's actually wired better than a Les Paul Standard. It's more along the lines of a Custom Shop. So again, that's a big myth that it's not a Les Paul. So you got to wash that nonsense out. All right, so that kind of moves us on actually to myth number 3. And myth number 3 is that Epiphones have terrible resale value. Now, they have a tendency to not fetch the prices of a used Gibson Standard. And let's just continue to use the topic of the Les Paul models. For the resale value, you know, in this crazy market, in this crazy COVID market, however, even Epiphones have gone up in their resale value. So to say flat out stock that it never happens, forget about it. If you buy that, you drive that Epiphone off the lot, you're never going to get your money back into it. These days, because of the COVID bump, because of people staying home, a lot of people buying guitars, people who had guitars buying multiple guitars. It's weird. I was going the opposite. I was getting rid of my guitars because it was such a great market and I knew I could get the price that I wanted for them. So that is not a true statement. Epiphones actually these days, particularly the 2019, the 2020 and these current 2021 models, they're actually holding their value. So you really want to check yourself on that kind of thinking, if that's your thinking. Again, you should buy the guitar based upon your desire to play, your desire to really enjoy it, not really based upon where you're going to get a resale value or not. There's a lot of guitars, there's some Gibsons out there, Les Paul Standards that have terrible resale values, especially the ones with the auto tuners. You know, try getting, you know, the crazy money for that. Nobody's going to give it to you. So again, that is not a across the board statement that's true. So just kind of check that when you're out there buying one. So that moves me on to our fourth and final myth, is that once I buy an Epiphone, I'm automatically going to have to change the pickups, do some mods on it, this, that, and the other. Well, you know, having owned Epiphones and Gibsons and a lot of other guitars, I'm going to tell you, regardless of the guitar, you're always going to sit there and say, what can I do to mess up a perfectly great guitar? So everybody's going to do something like that, regardless of the make or the model. But people in particular feel that you have to do that with Epiphones because the pickups on them aren't the greatest. And I will admit, again, one of the things that turned me off on the Epiphones were the sounds that were coming out of the Epiphone stock pickups in years prior. Now, lately, especially again in the case of this guitar, these came with Gibson USA Busbucker. Boy, I hate saying that. I always mess that one up. Burst Bucker 2 and 3 pickups in it that sound fantastic. I wouldn't even dream of changing the pickups on this thing. And that moves on to our bonus myth number 5. That Les Pauls are a one sound wonder. They're a one trick pony. They only do one thing, and that's a heavy rock sound, and that is absolutely far from the truth. The truth of the matter is that they started out as a jazz guitar. That's what Les Paul, that's the name Les Paul, and it used his guitars for. That was the sound of that time. As a matter of fact, when I'm sitting around noodling in the neck position using this Burstbucker 2 neck pickup, I'm amazed by the clarity and the beauty of this, the sound of this guitar.
So that I can hardly speak, and I seem to find nothing.
So as you can see, you know, for just sitting around noodling some jazz, you can do this. Has a versatility to it, this instrument. Not just this Epiphone, but all Les Paul. So, you know, if you're on the fence as to not whether you buy the Epiphone or the Gibson USA or whatever, but whether you think that a Les Paul is an appropriate guitar for you and that it really is just a one-hit wonder, a one-note pony or whatever, you'll find that that's not true. This guitar is very versatile in sounds. I'm finding it actually to be as versatile as a Telecaster. It fills a role just like that. I'm still not sold on Strats, but my good friend P-Hand Shih Tzu plays it so well I don't even have to worry about it. So in any case, that's it for today. You are always welcome here on this channel to watch the contents. I put it together every week for you for your enjoyment. Thank you so much for those of you who subscribed since the last show. I am really just dying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and of course I can only make that happen with your support. So if you really like the contents of this program, take the time to hit the subscribe button. If you like today's show, it really helps as well to hit the like button, and until the next one, you guys take care.